So there's a new generation of kids hitting the workforce. And with thousands of options, how do we attract them to our business? And how do we make sure that we have enough runway in front of them so that they don't just jump at the next available job that pays a little bit more? Well, let's dive into that today. Good morning, friends. Thomas Joyner with Business on Purpose here. Thanks for joining in, listening in for a little bit. So last week, we met with about 125 business owners and key leaders to plan out a fourth quarter, right? To start thinking through what do we want to accomplish by the end of the year. And one of the resounding issues that kept coming up was attracting talent in the trade industries. Now, about 70% of the businesses that we work with are in the trade industries. And so we asked them to go a bit deeper into the problem. Well, there's this huge push for high school kids to go to college now, which is great. But when they get a random business degree or marketing or some other just kind of generic degree in communications, that they've spent a ton of money in 4 years of their life on, they fully expect to be compensated at a higher rate and to find a job in that field, right? Feels like a waste of time if they do something different. And yet there's tons and tons of trade work to be had that doesn't require that 4-year degree. But those kids aren't attracted to some of what we have to offer, and they seem to not be celebrated as much with working with their hands, with diving into the trade industry and thinking, all right, well, if I get in, can I ever get out? And on and on and on it goes. And they're not wrong. Gen Z is coming out of high school or college with an inflated idea of the return on investment from education. They often think, oh, I'll get a degree in this or that, and I should make a good living right out of school, right? Even though that's not close to how it works every single day. Meanwhile, these jobs are there jobs that are paying 18, 20, 22 bucks an hour that you could start tomorrow with a high school degree with a solid career trajectory. Now, don't hear me say that college is not important. It's absolutely. Higher education should be applauded, but it should not just be some hoop that we send kids through, that they're forced to jump through with no direction. No, that is a waste of money. But back to the issue at hand. Plumbers, electricians, contractors, roofers, you name it, all of them are struggling to attract talent, people that want to work in those trades. Gen Z, they look around and they see people making TikToks and podcasts and food blogging, gaming, anything but working with your hands and making a stupid amount of money to do so. They look and they think, well, I can do the same thing and I can make a ton of money, and yet the grass looks to be way, way greener than it actually is. I think the question that we should ask is not how do we compete with that pay, because good luck with that one. The question we should ask is what is attractive to Gen Z about those jobs in the first place? Well, it's notoriety. It's having a voice. It's influencing people and being heard. It's also the freedom to be creative and self-expressive. Well, you say that's tough to give kids all of that as a beginning plumber, right? As an apprentice, as somebody who's learning the trades. Like, it is tough to give them a voice and tough to give them a place and a position to influence people. And while I agree, are we just going to say, no, it's not possible? Or is there a way that we can get closer to that? So many of us are stuck in the ways that the trades have always worked for the past 50, 100 years and not willing to innovate or change at all. So no wonder these kids don't want to work with a bunch of grouchy 50-year-old men who are just stuck in the old days. No, it sounds miserable. It's not what they want or what gets them excited. So how can we get them excited about being heard, about using their creativity and innovating and building a team and serving people and all that stuff, and on and on and on it goes? Because I think we're asking the wrong question. I think the question that we need to start asking is, what are the employees that I'm looking for looking for? What are the employees I'm looking for? These Gen Z generation, what are they coming to me looking for? And it's a simple question, but until we learn how to answer it, we'll be stuck just kind of waving our fist at the waves upon waves of Gen Z employees who chose to work somewhere else because they knew how to market their business to a new demographic of kids entering the workforce. We can stick our heads in the sand and say, man, they just don't make them like they used to, or we can be proactive and recognize the change in the market and get excited about the strengths this new generation brings. And here's the last thing I'll point to. This Gen Z group of kids, this Gen Z group of kids does not have the tangible skills that previous generations had. So we have to double down on 3 things. 1, on-the-job training and support. We can't just write them off. We have to find unique ways to get them the certifications needed and the hands-on experience to survive in their own new trades, right? In the new industries that they're stepping into. Give them the skills to thrive in their job roles. Number 2, check-ins and onboarding. This generation wants to be heard more than any generation previously. They want to be listened to and learned from. Give them a voice and genuinely listen. They may surprise you a little bit with their perspective, with some of their expertise and some of their thoughts. And here's the extreme. If you don't, they're just going to find someone else to listen and somewhere else to work. That's the sad truth behind it. They're not just going to sit there and grind it out for 20 and 30 years because this next generation is as transient and movable as possible. There's nothing holding them back, and they're willing to move and switch it up. And the third thing is a why behind their work. This generation is more community focused and cause focused than any generation prior to it. They want to fight for something. They want to work for something beyond just clocking in and clocking out. And having dignity in their work is important to them. So find a cause to support. Find a why, a reason to come to work beyond just turning a screw. Let them rally behind it. It's worth it for all the employees, not just the new Gen Z ones coming in, but without it, they'll always be looking for a why to attach themselves to and get behind. It's important for you, for your employees that have been here forever, and for the new ones coming in. Think about it. They are constantly looking for something to put as their social media picture, right? A cause that they're behind to align themselves with. Be that cause that they can align themselves with. Hey, I hope this is encouraging. It's a conversation we are just beginning. And this thought of what are the employees that I really want my business looking for? And how can we become that? So not until we really answer that in a real way and start to communicate it to the oncoming workforce, can we really hope to have our hiring holes filled by the incoming workforce. All right, you know the question you need to answer. Go figure it out. Get to work. Thanks.